Welcome, one and all, to the second GameTime Today Player Sitdown. You're fortunate enough, if once wasn't enough, to get me a second time with a player sit-down plus two more games tonight, including being played by my next guest, Kayleigh Johnson of the Manitoba Blizzard. Good evening, Kayleigh. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's great to finally sit down with you. I know the last time you and I did this, I was pretty interrupted on the post game show there, but that was way back in October. I went back into my notes and I was like, oh, when's the last time I talked to Kayleigh? And that October, I was like, well, that's got to change.
Yeah.
So anyway, I appreciate you taking the time. And first off, it's your first year in the MWJHL with the Manitoba Blizzard. How are you enjoying it?
I love it. The girls are great. You might hear dogs in the background, sorry, but the girls are great. Coaches are great. The whole league's great. It's just a great experience.
So, as somebody that came from the Winnipeg Admirals, I had the pleasure of watching you the last two seasons, including a COVID shortened season. How did that experience prepare you for the Manitoba Blizzard?
The high intensity for sure. Going from Avros to this isn't very different. The only thing, the constant skating, right? Practicing skating maybe 4 to 5 times a week is just keeping you fit for this league. And other than that, just the competitiveness, I'd say.
Now, being on the ice 4 times, 5 times a week, playing games, going to tournaments, all that's fine and dandy, but doesn't it become draining after a while?
I mean, you could.
Or is that just something you get used to?
I wouldn't say draining because I grew up playing this sport. I love this sport. That's why I'm in it. So I wouldn't say it's draining. Maybe for someone who wasn't used to doing it. But when you're growing up skating this often and playing hockey all the time, it's kind of just part of your routine, and it feels very weird when it's not around.
Yeah, maybe draining wasn't the right word, but the first thing that came to my mind anyway. Tell me about your season last year with the Admirals, if you don't mind. Because we are, well, I guess when we're recording this, 1 week out from what I like to call Battle Royale. Ice Admirals round two. In the semifinals, they start a week from Wednesday, so March the 8th. Not going to ask you about that playoff series in particular, because I'm sure you want to forget about that one. But what is it about when I mention Ice Admirals? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think it's just a rivalry because it's two city teams. Off the ice, I found there was never any type of rivalry. Everyone was best friends, but something about the two city teams playing each other. Someone wants first.
So just to follow up on that, the rivalry was on the ice, but not off the ice.
I don't think so.
So are we overblowing this then?
Maybe not on the ice. Both teams want to win. They want to prove who's the best team. But I remember girls being best friends off the ice. Even on the ice, they're joking around, but it's a serious time for them. They both want to win.
So I have a feeling that red jersey of yours is gonna come out of the closet next week.
Yeah, it's already washed.
All right. Kayleigh, on a more serious note, you guys begin the playoffs for the Manitoba Blizzard this weekend. It starts tonight in a battle with the team that you just came off the ice on Sunday and beat. What are your first impressions of your first round opponent and your first, I guess, attempt at winning an MWJHL provincial championship?
I'm feeling good about it. The girls are all really excited. The group chat's been so positive talking about it. It's just important that we do come ready. But even the Owls are a great team too. They all have fantastic players. I think it's just who wants it more in this series.
Does the best of 3 add something to it?
A little bit, I would say only because, um, just because, like, it's such a short series, right? So right off the bat, you need to be on your A game, um, and there's not really much room for mistakes, I'd say, because the first game's gonna kinda tilt the wheel more of which way what team's gonna want it more and which like, who has the advantage.
In your mind, what's the more important game? Game 1 or game 2?
I think game 1 just because it not determines, but it kinda sets the pace, whoever's showing up to play that day, and then going into game 2, a team that's got a foot on you versus not, you're gonna be a little bit stressed in that situation if it's a do or die, versus the winning team, I guess you would say, is very like, they're pumped up, right? Like they have positive mindsets. They want to shut down that series.
Is that a thing? Reactionary based on what happens in one game in a playoff series?
I think it does. Personally, I feel it all the time. Like versus I've been in both situations, right? In the do or die situation and having the extra foot with it. And I think it's a pretty big mental factor on how you want to play. Like, you're nervous if you're in the do or die situation and you want to, like, you're kind of on overdrive, right? You want to do everything you can that game, just leave it all out there. And it's the same feeling when you're like in that 1-0 position when you're winning, but in that sense you want to just end this like the series there, right? You don't
Yeah,
really.
you don't wanna come back the next day and have to do that elimination game times 2, only bringing your team into the midst. But really quickly, we'll bounce back to the playoffs in a little bit. I just wanna ask you about a couple of other things. Obviously, hockey's been kind of your forte for a while. How did that start for you?
I remember from what I know, my parents did put me in it. I have two brothers who are also in it. Like, we've always been a hockey family. Growing up, I played with my older brother a lot, and then, they'd put us in skating lessons. They'd let us play around on the ice and the outdoor rinks. And eventually, it just like as I got old enough to say I do want to keep playing, it's just always been a thing in my life. And I was so fortunate to have like my parents support me with it, and even my family and my brothers. Um, but ever since I can actually remember, I've always been playing hockey.
Has it always been defense?
Yeah. Like when we were young enough, we would all be wherever on the ice. I did try goalie, and even though my brothers are really good at it, it's not my thing at all.
So do you remember them putting you in as a goalie at all growing up,
I,
or how did that work?
I think I had to be young enough. I want to say maybe 7/8, maybe like 9A1. And our goalie was sick one day, and I volunteered for whatever reason, and we won, but it was not a good game.
Fair enough. Um, what entices you about being a defenseman? Because there's a lot of backward skating involved in that. Going back, to defend your own zone when the puck is shot behind you, et cetera, et cetera. What drew you, I guess, to being a defenseman?
I For as long as I can remember, I was a defenseman, but the thing I do like about that more is I'm more comfortable in our own zone. Like, I do like rushing and getting up in the play, but strategy-wise and just, like, being able to read plays, I find I do a lot better when I'm down low. And then that also just comes with I've played it forever, so the switch would be kind of uncomfortable for me at the moment. It's always been, like, a great position for me, and I just find that I strive at it really well.
Where did that offensive side of the game come from? Because we see you jump up into play. I saw it on more than one occasion with the Admirals. I've seen it on, more than one occasion with the Manitoba Blizzard. Where does that confidence come from?
Um It had to come from, like, like, playing for so many years, but coaches, my dad was a really big impact on it. He coached me for a few years when we were younger, but, like, going over things, that I can do and knowing, like, how far I could go with it, but mainly my coaching just gave me confidence with it. Like, Ash last year and, like, the previous years with Avros gave me the confidence, taught me how to do it, and then just kinda went from there.
For lack of a better term, I think there's a responsible way to go about that, and then there's the let's go up and make the play but leave the back end kind of exposed. Is there a communication factor that's involved, whether that's, another forward on the ice or your D partner just to say, hey, when I do this, this, and this, I'm gonna go, but things have to be okay back here, or is that just a whatever happens, happens kind of thing?
Well, all the girls I've played with for many, many years have always been very smart players. Um, More than half the time, I'd say, like someone knows to cover. But there is a lot of talking on the ice, so you'll see when people go back to cover for you, and it's the same thing. And like if the roles were reversed, right? If a forward needs help in the corner or whatever, and they need an extra girl, someone will be yelling something. Even the goalies help out sometimes, yelling where to go or what to look for. But there is a lot of communication, so usually it's not an issue.
What is, and it's kind of nothing to do with arrows or being a defenseman or anything, but what have you been most proud of this year? Because people look at, the Manitoba Blizzard record and they say, oh, you know what, the 5 seed. They had a long losing streak. They finally won, their last 2 games in the red jerseys for the first time. It looks like it's going to be a mismatch on paper. That would be the outside perception, maybe of somebody looking at the standings who hasn't really been around your team. What are you most proud of, particularly in your game and then by extension your team's game?
I would say for me, like trying my best. I'm not always going to have the best game, but like more importantly, I'm constantly giving my all or what I can give that day. With the team, I would say like the girls are all so positive. Everyone's so close in the dressing room that, you know, you may not win all your games, but everyone still keeps positive atmosphere in the change room. Everyone's cheering each other on the bench. Everyone is trying, but, sometimes you don't always get the outcomes you want.
Is there something when you're playing on the Blizzard, something of a sense of pride when, almost all of your assistant coaches are former players in the MWJHL? Like, did that discussed at all?
I know it does get discussed a little bit. The thing I love about it is that we have so many women coaches on the bench. Our like Jim and Doug are great as well, but like the
Yeah.
fact we have girls that are willing to coach and willing to like take time out of their day to help younger girls get better at the sport that they love. The other thing is, that they played on the team. Girls that are older are like we're friends with them. They were teammates, right? So it brings the whole room as a closer team, I would say. Like you can go to them to talk. Like it's a safe place. Um, and just like have like them being able to give us information on the experiences that they've had in the league just kind of overall makes it so much better that they like understand where we're coming from if we do talk to them about something.
What does Joey and Henry bring to your dressing room? Because she missed a couple games and she came back on Sunday and announced her presence in a big way with an early goal. People see Joey and Henry skating around the ice, deeping in and out of certain situations, scoring a lot of goals.
Mhm.
What is something that maybe that you're able to share that a lot of people don't see about a player like her?
She is very energetic and very enthusiastic. She's the type to say hi to everyone when they walk in the room. Um, she's the type, she gives the feedback that we need. Um, but I would say, like, she's just probably one of the most welcoming people in that room. Says hi to everyone, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter. She's trying to make everyone laugh, she's trying to have a good time. And then obviously she has that side of her for hockey where it's a little bit more serious, but at the same time, like, she's always trying to give it her all. She's trying to push everyone to be better in the room when she knows that they can. But other than that, the most energetic, positive, laughing, always. Like, she's just great.
So, what does that help you? I guess as a first year player to kind of see that, right? Because to be honest, at certain points you don't know what kind of dressing room you're going to walk into, particularly in September. You don't know where you get drafted, all that kind of stuff. What does that mean for you to have that leadership group to kind of welcome you and do all that other stuff and kind of make you feel included kind of right off the hop?
Yeah, it definitely sets the mood in a more positive way right off the bat. Like, it makes you, you want to show up to the rink and you want to see these girls. And on top of it, like, I have heard stories and I've seen them before where some rooms aren't like that. And it completely, like, reflects on your gameplay and your practicing then. Like, if the room's not a very great spot, no one's gonna wanna be there. No one's getting along, no one's growing as friends, right? No one's able to, like, build those bonds that you can use on the ice. So I find when we have leadership groups like this, it makes a very positive impact, when everyone's talking, everyone's hyping each other up, there's music playing, everyone's happy. It just, like, it brings a positive atmosphere and it makes you want to be there.
I've heard the music because it comes out of those speakers when I'm setting up. There's always some kind of music to get the group fired up. It's pretty amazing from the outside. Kayleigh, just talking quickly about the Avros. When you made the team, what was that like, and how would you kind of sum up your time with the Avros?
I remember being so stressed out for those tryouts, and then, finding out I made it was awesome. I wasn't quite familiar with Avros as I was with ice just because of the area I live in. But I remember meeting Ash a little bit earlier when she came to playoff games of Double A. But she was always so sweet to us. She pushed us to be better players and pushed us to our limits. The years with Avros were awesome. I wish we never had COVID because I think we missed out.
I know where you're going with this, but
We missed
continue.
out on lots of opportunities, but like Ash and the other coaches and all the other girls made up for that lost time in the years that we did have left. And just honestly, it's a great program. The coaches are amazing. The girls are always great. And, like, I couldn't say a bad thing about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were on the team that year that the finals got washed out. Yeah, that might have been one of the most. I can honestly say to this day that, like, as a broadcaster, I'm sure you feel the same way as somebody who didn't play in that. But
Mhm.
we were, I think, robbed of what would have been a great series. Just the way those two teams were kind of sizing each other up leading up to that. The emotional game five at the ice played against, I believe it was Yellowhead, just before the 2 days before they all shut everything down.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just think we were robbed of a really great series. And you know what? As a broadcaster, I don't have too many regrets, but that would be one of them now. Granted, there's nothing nobody could have done because that's a public health emergency,
Yeah.
but it was just more an unfortunate circumstance. And then, last year's playoff series pretty good, going 5 games. I know it didn't quite go your team's way, but that was, another big kind of advancement for at least the city teams anyway.
Mhm.
But when you reflect on that time, Kayleigh, what would you maybe tell a younger version of yourself, maybe a first year Avro to now?
I would say, like relax a little bit. Um, I remember it being like a first year, it's very stressful because you got girls that have been in the league way longer than you. I find that I remember finding the speed from double A to triple A was completely different. The gameplay was different. Um, the practicing, even like skating, how many times a week. But I would just say, like, relax. Everything's fine. It's going to be fine. Um, and like at the end of the day, it is just a game. So you just gotta like just enjoy it while you have it because you don't have it forever.
Yeah, no, and I think especially the last year or I think they came back to play 4 or 5 games before they shut it down for dead,
Yeah.
that season. So, I know for me as a broadcaster, it's one of those things you love it, you have it, you almost take advantage of it, and then when it's gone for that year and a bit, it's like, whoa, you know what? I'm not doing really too much, but I missed the game. Now, granted, of course, public health took front and center, but it allowed me at least to be more reflective of and grateful for the things that I had
Yeah.
that were suddenly taken away. Really quickly, Taylor, just tell me about the tryouts this year. How did you find out about the FWJHL, and what was your mindset kind of going into tryouts?
I knew there was a league after, like after you aged out, I guess you could say. I wasn't fully like I didn't have all the information of it. I know there's a few girls from Avros that did play, like Aaliyah Baker, for example.
Yeah.
Um, and like I constantly talked with my parents about what I wanted to do the year after, and I have lots of friends that went into this league as well. Tryouts, I was probably I was very stressed out again, like being the rookie. I wasn't really sure how everything worked, what was going to happen. But the coaches did a great job setting it up. It was super fun. I'm getting to play with girls that I haven't played with in a while. But other than that, it was just a little stressful at the start.
So you get that note, but you make the Manitoba Blizzard.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, 2 painstaking days later, I think the last skate was on a Monday, and the teams weren't formed till like the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, what was kind of going through your head there?
I was I was more nervous because I wanted to know like what if I was making a team and what team it would be. Um, I was just kind of pacing back and forth almost because I wanted to like I was really hoping this year I could play with some of the friends I came into the league with. I did get quite a few, but like it's even great just being able to play against them still, and even making the friends on the Blizzard are awesome. Just was a long waiting game.
So, looking back, what have you learned about yourself this season?
Um, That's a good question.
I don't make it easy, apparently.
What did I learn about myself? I would just say like being able to adapt to like different teams. Um, Honestly, like in the change room, just learning things about other people and like myself, like our friendships. But on the ice, even like being more content with playing hockey and how I play, kind of giving myself like not a break, but if I mess up, it's not the end of the world. Um, I don't know. This is a hard question. I'm trying to think.
Okay, let me phrase it to you differently. Cause I had a earlier conversation with a member of the Northern Stars, and she had some very important points that she wanted to hammer home on mental health and all that kind of stuff. Um, can you maybe help me understand to the best that you can anyway of the pressure that younger athletes face? I mean, I know when I was in grade 12, graduating high school, it was like, what am I gonna do next year? What am I like? How am I gonna finish the school year? Never mind, playing a high level of hockey and how maybe having fun is important just as like the seriousness of it.
Yeah. I would say, like you play the sport because you love it and like you want to be there. It should be something fun and almost, I don't want to say an escape, but something like, you can kind of keep your head in, right? You're not really stressed out there. You've been doing it for however long. The seriousness of it is, your competitive side. You want to win and you want to do the best that you can, but the girls again that you play with also make a big difference in it. If you have a great team, and you want to be there, you're making friends, you're laughing, you're having a good time. And the seriousness comes in the games and sometimes the practices when you're trying to work on things. But I would say like it's just you're making sure you're putting what makes you happy first. Obviously, growing up and graduating is like a different world completely, but that having something like hockey as an escape for it is perfect.
So what just to wrap up here, when you look at, the playoffs and the opportunity that lies ahead for your team, what excites you? Is it the opportunity to, go from that sixth seed and be, another sixth seed in recent memory to make the final? Or like your team has to be thinking about this as, yes, our regular season record as the 5 seed wasn't very good, but it's a new slate, you know. We play well here in particularly this weekend, but if it happens to go beyond this weekend into round 2 and into round 3, you could really kind of write a different story than the one that's maybe been written since September, October.
Yeah, I would like, it really just depends who wants it more, right? Who wants to show up for it, who is putting in their all. Like I said, Owls are probably a great team to play first round. Like they're good. Everyone in the team has talent. I would just say like it really depends how the girls are coming to the rank that they're ready to play. And like that they're just having fun, right? They're doing everything they can out there. It would be great to go to round 2 and round 3, but we need to focus on round 1 first.
Finally, on that, is the league as close on the ice as it is on paper and in the standings? And what do you make of that?
I would yeah, everyone has great players on their teams. Like I don't think there's a bad team. Um I would say, like it comes down to sometimes messy goals, dirty goals, right? Like ones that you just got to slip in there. A lot of the time it can go either way. Like it really just depends. There's been some games where like there's been blowouts versus close games, right? So I think it just depends, who's willing to like go for the loose pucks, to get their body in there, to be in the right spot at the right time. It really doesn't I think all the teams are super close in this league. I don't think there's a very big difference in anyone.
For con- for context, just so people know, I can count on one hand the number of blowouts we've had this year. And I think out of 75 games, that speaks pretty pretty dead about how close and how tight things can be. Anyway, Kayleigh, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, we're doing this one more time or a time or two more because that means a deep playoff run for your hockey team.
Yeah.
Best of luck tonight against the Grey Owls. The puck will drop at 8:20. Yeah. Ask me how I really feel about that sometime. But nonetheless, it is playoff hockey, so all the rest and stuff will have to come and not stay in during the day leading up. Could not be more excited to have the MWJHL playoffs begin as well. If you want to watch the MWJHL playoffs, you can go to www.gametimetv.ca. You can watch Kayleigh and the Manitoba Blizzard take on the Manitoba Grey Owls at 8:20. Plus, we'll present every playoff game, however long it goes. And I just hope everybody, well, sarcastically has fun. The broadcaster, you can't hit sides. That never ends well. But you can certainly, and that's what we plan to do, is enjoy the playoffs as long as they go on and see where they may take us. That's another edition of the Game Time Today Player Sitdown. We'll talk to everybody some other time. Good night.